Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? And this is the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. Now, Samsung has had a bit of a resurgence since the Galaxy S8, trying to make up for the problems of the past. But how does one of the most feature-packed phone lines redeem the past? Well, that's what we hope to find out. It's easy to think that the Galaxy Note 8 will basically be a Galaxy S8 Plus with an S Pen. And while that's not too far from the truth, it's also just a tad bit too simplistic. To start, the phone currently comes in 4 colors: black, gray, gold, and blue. For the US market, there will only be the gray and black editions. That's why I went straight for the blue one, because I don't feel like I'll be able to use it anymore after this. So let's get the obvious part out of the way. The phone looks and feels a little bit big. Much like with the Galaxy S8 Plus, it has a screen that comes in at 6.3 inches. Think about that for a second. The Note line used to be known for its 5.7-inch displays, and now they're finding ways of extending it by 3/4 of an inch. Thankfully, we have the curved infinity display that helps with handling, but this is still not the most ideal phone to use in one hand. The display continues the trend of steeper aspect ratios, and it continues the other trend of taller and more narrow displays. The difference here is that the curves have been dialed back a tad, mainly because the phone itself is a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, and a little bit thicker all around. But it's hard to knock the size too much because that large screen size remains one of the most enjoyable parts of the Note. In order to make room for this, the Note 8 also catches up to the new design aspects like removing the tactile home button and capacitive keys, and a button basically underneath the screen that will vibrate when you press down hard enough. Speaking of buttons, the rest are all where you would expect, though the Bixby button now finds its way into the Note line. The next enjoyable part of the Note when compared to the Galaxy S line is the more premium experience. The Note generally tried to have better specs, and that philosophy returns in the Note 8. There's one obvious spot of discretion, however. The battery is 3300 mAh. While we always would prefer a bigger battery for better longevity, we also kind of understand what the motivations were here. The Snapdragon 835 keeps the phone as updated as it should be, but 6GB of RAM is the real big story here. This is the first time that Samsung is going past the 4GB mark for all of the devices across its release. And that 6GB of RAM should be able to help with a lot of features like the Edge UX. It gets one useful update for the multitaskers out there. Users have told Samsung that due to the large screen, multi-window has been utilized a bunch. For those users, the Note 8 adds in dual app shortcuts called App Pair. They can be created in the home screens or nestled in the edge panels for easy access. And they open up 2 user-defined applications at once in multi-window automatically. There are a lot of different combinations that would help with multitaskers out there, like the calendar and the email app, or in my case, pretty much YouTube and anything else. Which brings us to the S Pen, the main extra for any Note device. Over the years, the S Pen has been given many new features that it's kind of hard to list them all. Open up the pen command menu and you'll see all of the different features. Smart selection, note creation, screen capture, and there's even an option for using the pen and all of its brushes to do some coloring. Maybe you would like to share some of your doodles in the Pen Up artsy social media network, or just use the S Pen pretty much like a mouse to do things like click, drag, and drop. Translate has been updated so it can translate more than just single words at a time. And for the real note taker, the screen off memo that activates from standby can now record 100 pages of editable notes without the need to unlock the device first. Now, the main new feature here is actually a fun one, but it's still kind of practical. The Live Message, which records the user's path to writing a short message into an animated GIF. Added effects like sparkles and neon lighting give it a little bit more flair, helping to make pleasing GIFs that you can send to friends, significant others, or pretty much anyone that deserves that little bit extra. All of this is on top of the Samsung UI that continues to look about as streamlined as ever. The software on the Note 8 looks very similar to the one from the S8 with very few changes in the look. The updates are happening mainly in Bixby, where we were told that more voice commands will be made available, and we can expect more updates to the rest of the capabilities Bixby has, like Vision. We'll continue to test Bixby and see how every aspect gets better on the Galaxy Note 8. So with all of that out of the way, we can talk about the main addition to the Galaxy Note 8, the camera. As expected, the dual camera has made it to the Samsung ecosystem, adding that second lens on the back in an obvious black area. The black color to this whole area is a little bit jarring when you see it on every device, no matter what color it is, and it kind of adds a high level of contrast when you're using a non-black device. How it looks is kind of up to you, but these cameras really pack a punch. 12 megapixel dual pixel sensors with OIS in both lenses, and one lens is a 2x optical zoom at f2.4 aperture. 10x digital zoom is possible, but overall having OIS in both sensors is kind of a big deal. It will really help for when you go tighter into a shot and all of those jitters are actually being compensated for. The interface for the camera has changed a little bit to reflect this new hardware change. Live focus is not only still available, it is now kind of front and center. Much like the portrait modes from the iPhone and the OnePlus 5, the Note 8 will use a combination of the zoom lens and software-enabled depth of field to make subjects stand out from the background. But one really cool feature about this is that you get both photos. You get the picture from the zoom lens that has the depth of field, and you also get a picture from the regular lens, so you have both to choose from. We of course applaud the move to a dual camera setup, and so far it seems that Samsung is putting some real thought into their iteration. It already benefits from fast focusing dual pixels, the dual OIS, and pretty much every other mode that you would expect in a Samsung camera. And all of this is alongside the front-facing 8 megapixel camera that has autofocus and 2K video recording. We'll be putting all of these lenses to the test when we get our hands on our review unit. And so there you have it, the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. Consider for a fact that everything that I told you in this video is basically what is new, and there's still so many other features that you may or may not already be familiar with inside of the Galaxy Note 8. So far, the Galaxy Note 8 manages to be just slightly larger than its predecessor, but much bigger and badder in every other area that truly counts. The screen continues to be a sight to behold, adding a zoom lens gives people more shooting possibilities, and the S Pen remains one of the most useful tools for anyone that bothers to use it, especially for productivity. We're excited to get our hands on the Note 8 as always, and we will be bringing you our full review soon. Pre-orders start on August 28th with the phone going out on September 15th, and until that time you can continue to watch all of our coverage of the Samsung Galaxy Note 8 here at Android Authority. So like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to keep up with all of the great news and announcements regarding the Note 8 because we are your source for all things Android.